Edward Pentin is next, but first this. On Wednesday, a Rome newspaper reported that a person who lives in the same residence as Pope Francis has tested positive for coronavirus and is being treated in an Italian hospital. The Vatican had no immediate comment. Francis, who has canceled public appearances and is conducting his general audiences via television, lives at the Santa Marta house. There are currently about 75 people in residence there. The Vatican said on Tuesday that 4 individuals had so far tested positive inside the city-state, but those it listed do not live in Casa Santa Marta, where the 83-year-old pontiff lives. Here with analysis is Rome correspondent for the National Catholic Register, Edward Pentin. Edward, thank you for joining us. Now, you are living through, I know, week 3 of this nationwide lockdown in Italy. The Italian Prime Minister, Giuseppe Conte, put even further restrictions on the country last Saturday, closing all Italian businesses. What is it like living in almost warlike conditions in Rome? And explain that document you have to carry around with you to move about.
Yeah, well, it's very strange, Raymond. I mean, we're basically all under sort of house arrest, and which is obviously something people aren't used to, and people aren't going out very much at all, and really only for urgent necessities or to go to the supermarket or to the pharmacy. So it's very restrictive, and this decree that they put out on a couple of days ago actually makes it even harder to travel, and you actually can't go to different municipalities or different boroughs of the city without taking this slip of paper and showing that you have permission to go there, either for work or for a medical reason or for some urgent necessity.
Wow. Edward, how is the Pope adapting to this lockdown? I'm told he's still meeting with people. Why? And is it wise to remain in Santa Marta when we know, or possibly it's been reported, that one person might be affected?
Yes, well, it is a bit strange. Some people say, well, you know, other world leaders have had to go into isolation and quarantine, but he's continuing to meet people. He said in that interview in Spanish a couple of days ago that he's meeting people every hour, even every half hour, he said. And he met four officials today. So he's continuing to meet people and basically continue life as normal. I think he feels quite constrained by this and doesn't like feeling constrained from doing his work and meeting people.
Well, I guess he's practicing social distancing and figures, you know, he'll be okay. But given his lung condition, as you know, the capacity of that one lung, it is a concern, I think, to all of us. Pope Francis led Christians around the world in praying in Our Father to ask God's mercy during this coronavirus pandemic. And tomorrow, he's going to give an extraordinary Urbi et Orbi blessing, a Latin for to the city and the world, a blessing to the city and the world, in front of an empty St. Peter's Square. Why is he doing this? There is an indulgence attached to this as well. Tell me about all of that.
Yes, well, this is 2 special prayer moments that he announced on Sunday. The first one was the Our Father with Christian communities around the world on Wednesday, and this is the second one really for the faithful, and really to give a special prayer for them. And he's going to also bring the miraculous crucifix that he prayed at a few days ago, to pray for an end to the epidemic. And that really is the crux of it. It is to pray for an end to this pandemic, and really to pray for all those who are suffering because of it. And that's why he's doing it. But this extraordinary Urbi et Orbi is also very interesting because he usually only gives those at Easter and Christmas. And so it underlines again the urgency and the importance of this pandemic and why it's so important to him and to many people.
Edward, you referenced this Spanish interview the Pope granted. He told that same reporter that the COVID-19 pandemic is nature having a fit in response to the Earth's pollution. Here's a clip in Spanish with English subtitles.
Curiosamente, hacía mucho tiempo que el planeta no estaba tan limpio. Puede que sea todo esto un ajuste de cuentas de la naturaleza con nosotros.
Hay un dicho que seguramente vos lo conocés. Dios perdona siempre. Nosotros perdonamos de vez en cuando. La naturaleza no perdona nunca. Los incendios, las inundaciones, los terremotos. O sea, la naturaleza está pataleando para que nos hagamos cargo del cuidado de la naturaleza.
Now, we know the Pope's been focused on climate change, Edward, for some time. Sarah Ferguson, the former Duchess of Kent, took some flack for tweeting something similar. She said, Mother Nature has sent us to our rooms and is taking back control. What's been the reaction to these papal comments?
Well, not much surprise, because he said this before. He said before, I can't remember when exactly, but he did give an interview where he said that this is kind of nature's revenge, and that Mother Nature never forgives. So this isn't actually new. But what is interesting is that this is very much based on liberation theology. This is very much a thinking from that. And it also fills up quite a lot of Laudato Si, his encyclical on the environment. And it's really about, again, sort of this idea of nature's revenge on pollution and misusing the environment. It's also called sort of Gaia's revenge. And it's very much, as I say, a thinking of liberation theology. And certain liberation theologians like Leonardo Boff, who was a very famous liberation theologian who was actually sort of very Marxist as well. And this is very much part of that thinking. But yes, it's also a kind of departure from the way that the church is often taught about these kind of what they say are chastisements, and it's usually because of sin and man's sin, that's
right.
in the sort of traditional way of thinking, and that the Lord has to intervene because of man's sin, and that's how it happens, and in order to sort of bring order out of disorder. So this is very much sort of a variance to that, and some would say a departure from it too.
Yeah. Edward, before I let you go, the Register, you have a new piece in the Register on Cardinal Joseph Zen. He is still raising alarm. He was on our show a few weeks ago over the pastoral guidelines the Vatican issued to the Church in China. Why does he believe these are detrimental to the Chinese faithful? Very quickly.
Well, he just feels that they're really basically it's forcing clergy, but the faithful in general in China, to sort of sign up to the schismatic church. At least that's what he says it is, the state-run church in China, and that, of course, has never been allowed in the church before. So he says it's basically forcing them into apostasy. So he says it's a particularly evil document, and in fact, he says it's worse than the provisional agreement, which was very controversial, signed in 2018 between the Vatican and Beijing. And so he said this is actually far worse than that, and it's the worst thing of all. So he's very concerned about that, and really wants it put right, and also the agreement itself made public.
Yeah, well, I know he and Cardinal Parolin have been at odds, and you attempted to interview both here. The piece is quite fascinating. You can find that at ncregister.com. Edward Pentin, stay safe, and we'll check in with you in the days ahead.
Thank you, Raymond.